Good afternoon. We're getting ready to start here in a few minutes with our coffee and career chat today. We're excited to have Pastor Jason Exley will be joining us shortly. But wanted to get on, let people start jumping on here, and then get this all set up, and we'll be ready to go. It's not showing over here. I can't get it. Sorry, I'm still new at Instagram here. All right, there we are. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's get Pastor Jason joining on here. Thank you for those who have joined. Dr. Zaldivar, nice to see you. Felipe, hello. Okay, we've got Jason jumping in here, and we're going to start. And there's Carly, thank you for joining us. Lexi, thank you. Rachel. Okay, if you have any questions during this session, be sure you write them in here, send them to us, and we'll have Pastor Jason address those as well. We have a few things that he's already outlined that's really great information for those of you in ministry. Or, you know, all of us pretty much are in working at a church or involved in a church, not necessarily working as your profession, but they're all great, some great tools that we can do. So let's get Jason connected here. Tony, you have to accept him over there. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can get Jason. Jason, how are you? You know, these are times that I was planning on having things in the Career Center where we could someone, and so doing it's a little bit different right now with us, having to go through two different locations. So, but we're happy that we can do that. So, okay, looks like Jason has gotten on here.
Hey, hey, hey.
There he is. All right. Well, let's go ahead. Hi, Pastor Jason. Thank you for coming. For those of you who may not know Pastor Jason, he is actually the lead pastor at Life Church in Midlothian, Texas. And he also serves as the presbyter for the Waxahachie section. So he wears a couple different hats. I know he really loves church planning, and he has a group of interns. And so when I had contacted him and said, hey, I'd really like for you to do this session for us, he jumped right on it and really was excited. So thank you, Pastor Jason. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, let me remind y'all, if you have a question, make sure you just type it in there in the comments, and we'll try to get to all the questions as we go along. So first of all, Pastor Jason, just give us a little bit of your background, and you know where you're coming from, so they know a little bit more about you, kind of get acquainted, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I was a student at SAGU a couple decades ago. I was there in the 90s, from 95 to 99. I lived in Davis Hall back when it was still a dormitory before it became offices. And before I was a student at Southwestern, I was a missionary kid. I was born and raised in Argentina, and born in Buenos Aires, and I grew up in Argentina. In fact, during those first 18 years of my life living in South America, we lived through 3 different military coups where the military would try to overthrow the government. So we've lived under national quarantines, under national curfews, under runs on the bank, gas stations without gas, grocery stores without food, a police state. And so kind of the crisis we're living in now, obviously none of us have experienced a global crisis like this before. But I've grown up with national mandates and national curfews and those kinds of things. And it does bring fear into everybody's heart. So we've been trying to wrap our mind around what do we do and how do we pastor and how do we lead in the middle of this context that's brought fear and stress and anxiety to so many families and people, and even our young adults in America and even around the world.
Oh, exactly. And I think that's what makes it so much, wider, I guess, just knowing that it's the entire world. But we have a lot of students that, we are having classes now remotely. And so I know there's a lot of ministry students out there and they're like, okay, I've got all this free time, right? What can I be doing? I'm quarantined, but I still want to be getting some experience. And I always tell students, I'm like, as much experience as you can get as a student, to put on that resume is going to make you marketable. And
Yeah.
so give us some ideas, Pastor Jason. What are some things that we can do?
Yeah. Well, let me, I think right now, every student can choose to live in 3 different zones of life. They could live in the fear zone, in the maintenance zone, or in the growth zone. So kind of I define the fear zone as the one where we're scared, we hoard toilet paper, we glue ourselves to the television news, and we live fearful people. Or the maintenance zone is kind of the zone that I'm going to just do enough to get by. Like, what's the bare minimum I can do? I'm going to turn in my classwork. I'm going to just log in. I'm going to do my attendance rolls. I'm going to do the bare minimum, and I'm going to, stay up all night playing video games. I'm going to sleep all day. I'm going to do the bare minimum to get by. Or the growth zone. And I think that's where the students that are logging into this live right now, they want to be. The growth zone is, what can I do to grow myself right now? And even right now in this season, when we have social distancing and we have stay-at-home orders or shelter in place, there's a lot that we can do to grow. And so one of the emails that I sent Miss Beverly earlier was, I think there's 3 areas we can really focus in on when we want to grow. One of those is yourself, your personal self. You can find a pastor. You can find a mentor, someone that speaks into your life. And you can ask a pastor, you can ask a mentor, hey, could you be honest with me and tell me what area of my spiritual walk or what area of my practical ministry can I grow in? You got to have thick skin to ask somebody to be honest with you. But if you can have thick enough skin and receive feedback from somebody without making excuses for it, then go and find a book, find a resource, ask them to mentor you right now. Pastors are wanting to connect with you. One thing that a pastor's heart hurts right now is we're shepherds that we can't be with our sheep. Right. And so if you would go and ask your pastor, would you mentor me? Could we do a Zoom call once a week? Could we do a FaceTime once a week? Could we just talk? Your pastors would love the opportunity to mentor you, but take the first step. Don't wait on them to call you. You call them. You send them an email. Get the book that they recommend to grow you. Another thing you could actually do right now, honestly, pastors are busier right now than ever before. About 3 weeks ago, every church in America had to pivot. If you've played basketball before, you got one plant foot that you can kind of pivot on. And so all of a sudden, we had to change the way we've done church. Like in the Western world, we have done church the same way for 100 years. And within a moment, we had to pivot. The gospel became our pivot foot, right? So the gospel stayed the same, but our delivery, we pivoted. And within a week, we had to change the way we delivered the gospel message to people. And so pastors are busier now than ever before, recreating new systems, recreating new job descriptions, redefining new roles. And so you can come along your pastor, if you're a ministry major, and help them do sermon research. Just say, hey, pastor, what's your sermon you're writing right now? Could you give me your text, and give them a word study of the words inside of that text? Give them a historical, contextual summary of what's happening then. Be a support to your pastor, and you can do research right now and help your pastors out. So first of all, help your pastor. Commit yourself to help a pastor. Second, participate in your church's ministry life. You don't have to physically be there to participate in your church's ministry life. Right. Show up to online prayer. We're hosting a Saturday night live prayer on Zoom. You know what? Be the first to go in to your virtual prayer gatherings with your pastor. Show up, show interest, show involvement. You can lead a virtual small group. You can offer to participate. You can offer to help create social media graphics or maintain the church's website. But be a part of creating solutions with your ministry team. There's a lot that you can do right now. Everything's gone digital. Your pastor is going to need help to make sure he's doing digital and the church is doing digital as creatively and as engagingly as they can.
That is awesome. And that is some great advice. So anyone out there saying you're bored, there's no reason to be bored right now. He's given you some
No.
great tools and some things for you to do. So that's wonderful. And as we're helping them, you did mention a little bit about growing yourself, but what are some of your recommendations maybe on, obviously being in the word is you know, in our prayer time is important, but
Yeah.
do you have some suggestions of some books or some other areas that they can to really
Sure.
use this
Sure.
time?
Hey, let's say it this way. You have never had this much time to grow your spiritual disciplines, to
Mhm.
grow your spiritual walk. And so be a person of that becomes disciplined. Create a routine. It's so easy to stay up late and sleep in late, but create a schedule. And part of that schedule is carve out time to get into the Word of God, carve out time to pray, carve out time to create spiritual disciplines, fast one meal once a week, fast and pray. You've never had this much time to journal or read the Bible and grow yourself. Here's another thought. Here's another thought. You could go get a job, even if you're like doing Instacart. But go get a job right now and tithe. There's so many students that say, you know what? I'll tithe once I have a career. I'll tithe once I have a diploma on the wall. I'll tithe once I have a full-time job. I'll tithe once I kind of pay off some debt. Tithing starts now. Create stewardship, create a disciplined life, create a spirit of generosity. So start tithing right now. So go get a job, even if it's a night stalking at the grocery store, but do something. Don't just sit around the house all day. Get ahead, grow yourself. You know what? If you come alongside your pastor and you start getting an online job or an Instacart job or a night stalking job and you start tithing, you're a blessing to that local church. You're a blessing to the kingdom of God, and you're a blessing to yourself. Hey, one more thing. All of you that are studying for missions, right now our missionaries are pretty lonely. What if you adopted a missionary and you just said, back in the day we used to call them pen pals, right? When you would
Right.
write a letter and mail a letter. What if you adopted a missionary and you just found them on Facebook or you sent them an email and said, hey, could we just walk through this season right now together? How can I pray with you? How can we come alongside you? You might not have a ton of resources to give them, but you have your friendship, you have your encouragement, and you have your prayers. So adopt one missionary and check in on them, check in on their ministry, but check in on their family. And so come alongside, ask a missionary what's going on in your world right now in the middle of this global crisis. How can we pray with you about? You're going to learn a lot because people are eager to connect to people right now.
Oh, exactly. That is wonderful. And I'm going to go back on the job aspect real quick, and then I'm going to jump back on the mission side. But on the job, you know, there are people that, you know, come in here and they're like, well, where can I work? Where can I go? What can I do? And I'm like, you know what? Go to HEB, go to Walmart. Those people are worn out. That's why they keep hiring. All these essential businesses that are still open, you know, they're looking for additional people and additional help. And think of all the people you're going to be able to minister
Yeah,
to, even if it's
yeah,
just with a smile, if it's just
yeah,
with a, you know, God bless you or blessings today or something. Because there's so many people, if you go into the store, it's almost eerie sometimes because
yeah.
everybody's, you know, covered in their mask and they have their gloves on and, you know, you're just kind of walking around. But if you're working there and they come up and ask, be Jesus to them. Okay.
Yeah.
Just, you know, let Jesus's light shine through you. So thank you for bringing that out because that's been something I've been preaching in here. It's like, you know what? There's still work to be done. And then obviously the tithing, because all the churches, you know, just like there's a lot of people that are suffering financially. And I want to say back on the missionary, what a great idea, Jason. I love it. I have friends that are missionaries, and as we all do, and we know how tough this is right now. But I'm going to go a step further. Think about some missionary kids. I've
Yeah.
got two missionary kids right now that are separated from their parents because their parents are on the field and they were here for school. And
Yeah.
now they can't go back to the field because they can't go back in right now. And some of the, you know, what they're experiencing. And so, you know, contact them, pray for them, you know, just be in touch, stay in touch with each other. because I know there's just a lot of anxiety, and that's what we can help people overcome. So great, great, great. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Jason. As I said earlier, if you have any questions, I haven't seen any come through yet. I'm kind of looking down here to see. But if you have any questions, we've got about 4 more minutes. We'd love to answer anything you might have. So let's see if a couple questions pop in.
Yeah, I have my oldest son is 17. He's a junior in high school. So within a year, he's going to be a student at SAGU, but he feels called to ministry. So he and I are reading a couple books right now on communicating, on how to write a sermon, how to communicate well. And he's learning new job skills right now. He's,
awesome.
he's 17 years old. I shoot 2 Minutes of Hope, encouraging devotional 2 days a week. And he's doing all of my video shooting and editing and putting music and graphics to it. In fact, we're at the church right now, and him and his 14-year-old brother, my second son, they're up here shooting kids ministry videos along with our kids ministry team. So there's a lot you can do to be involved in ministry right now. You can shoot videos from your house. You can make those Bible stories for children's ministry come alive. We did some crowdsourcing for our Sunday service this last week, and I had different generations on a Zoom call, and we recorded the Zoom call, but had different generations reading verses out of my main passage so they could all see each other on the screen. So there's a lot of crowdsourcing going on right now to make ministry happen and keep people engaged. So be creative, find creative ways to help your church out.
That's awesome. And I will say we thank his son for helping him figure out this Zoom or this Live. And that's one of the things, students, y'all can help us. The ones that are, aren't quite as tech savvy. I want to say thanks to Dr. Tony Garza, the alumni director. He's in here and he's one that helps me get going. So we do appreciate them. Okay. This just a comment that came in. There's so much for students to do. Students can make videos. You just talk about it, learn how, and teach people how to learn how to Zoom. You're right. I hear a lot of people say, Zoom, what's Zoom? And I mean, I have to admit, I'm in the older generation too, and I had to learn how to do it for my class. So that's right. There's a lot that can be taught. So, well, Pastor Jason, I told you I wouldn't keep you long, but we certainly appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. I trust this has been beneficial. Students or alum, whoever's joining with us, if you have any questions at all, go ahead and shoot those to us. Career Development is here to help you with whatever resources you're needing. And if you have a question for Jason, I can get that over to him and we can get an answer for you. But we appreciate you giving back to the university that you graduated from. And I was kind of sad when he said 2 decades ago, because I was like, I was here. So I've known Jason for over 2 decades now. So great guy. Love him to death, and appreciate all you're doing, Jason. So thank you so much for joining with us today.
It's my pleasure. God bless you guys.
Okay. Thank you all for viewing. Y'all have a blessed day.
You too. God bless you guys.
Bye-bye.